All right, peoples, welcome to the Even People Show. Strap in. We got a magic carpet ride of a show for you today. I'm playing some, what are you telling him? What your name, mute? Richie Spice. When Jack come from Buzzrock with his diamond dipped in blood. That tune I sound like some funeral song, but I like it. All right, that's for that, people. Welcome to the Even People Show, ladies and gentlemen. I have a nice show for you today, and I don't know. I have a couple of disclaimers before I introduce my co-host today. I don't even have a guest today. I have a co-host today. I like having a co-host. So the topic that we're going to talk about, I couldn't get anybody to be my co-host today because it's a touchy topic. You know what I mean? It's something that's kind of, nobody really want to jump on this right here. So I found a brave soul, none other than Venice Williams-Esq, the attorney, obviously, philanthropist, entrepreneur, and so much more. And like the guest I had on last week, I could have gone at the show, any show with her on there, multiple ways. We could have done Who's Venice, and a whole bunch of other things. But instead of that, we are going to tackle something today that I believe needs to be spoken about. I have several curiosities about how it works in different places based on the conversations that I've had with individuals. And I figured I would get a competent soul that was brave enough to brave it with me. And I found one in Miss Venice Williams. So without further ado, I'm going to add Venice to the mix-up. Miss Williams.
Hi.
How are you doing today, my dear?
I'm good. And you?
I'm always good. I'm always good. That's my story all the time. People say nobody's always good. I say, really? I think I'm always good. If you're not always good, that's personal. You got to go work on that. So I'm going to jump right into it, Venice, because I don't even know how to approach this because there's so much sensitive things. And because we're dealing with people and their lives and what affects people directly and real stuff. You know what I mean? You kind of have to tread lightly because there's no broad stroke approach that applies to everybody the same way. You know what I mean? There's no one size fits all when it comes to these type of situations. We have a bunch of unique situations, a bunch of unique things that people are dealing with, but there are certain things that are common among them. Now, I chose to call the show BabyFather Drama, and I guess my first disclaimer is going to be that Venice has no baby father drama. I just she was just the brave soul that decided to brave the show with me. No baby father drama at all her. So she's not here for her expertise in that avenue. She's more here for her expertise in the process, how it works. She's worked as a lawyer in several countries, so she has a wider perspective on this than most, simply because of the exposure that she's had. Also, I want to put out there that whatever facts we share, this is not going to apply to everybody everywhere. Okay, this is going to be specific to the information that was available to us related to the topic, and that's where we're making the assumptions for. If you know something different as you're watching, you have facts that either support or contradict, put it in the comments. That's why it's a live show. That's why you have the opportunity to join. If you're just joining, my guest tonight is none other than Venice Williams Esquire. Venice, why you left off the Esquire?
But I hear you telling people how I practice in many countries now, just Jamaica. But worked with clients in other jurisdictions, of course. Esquire is an American thing. It's not a Caribbean thing. We're attorneys at law.
You know, depend it. All right, no worries. Okay, so let's do this. The topic of the day is child support predominantly. The reason I choose to call it baby father drama is because men have somehow monopolized the industry as it relates to absent parent. Men have cornered that market quite significantly, if I might say so myself, which is why I decided to go at it that way, because more often than not, they're the absent parent. And when there's an absent parent, most often than not, child support gets involved. Now, with my experience with it, being somebody that has direct knowledge of it here in the US, I know that here it's pretty straightforward. There are certain processes that are in place that, as long as certain things get initiated in the front end, the rest of the process is almost like autopilot. So as long as you fill out a birth certificate with a father's name on it, it's almost automatic, if you and the father are not together, that the state is going to reach out to him and some kind of child support is going to be assessed. And the process goes. If you were married and you get divorced, as long as there's a child involved, the child support is just about automatically calculated as a part of the divorce decree. So for here, it's there, and it, you know, the way it's set up here, because everything is so plug and play, there's really very few ways to go around it. It's set up in such a way that, you know, we have the social security system, everything is tied to it. And once your name and your social get plugged into the system, that's you. You can't run from it, you can't hide from it. It is what it is. So I guess let's start here. How does the process work in Jamaica as it relates to child support in general? What are the parameters?
Okay, well, for us, a lot of times kids are born and the father is not actually at the hospital.
Okay.
So the father's name is not added to the birth certificate, right? So what would happen is we would just go through the process, go through the motion, and when things get bad, then that's when we're trying to play catch up. So you have quite a bit of parents who decide not to go through the route of child support because it is tedious, it is shameful, our court system is not so private in that regard. It's not so structured, you know. I mean,
so the father has to be there. The father has to be at the court, at the hospital when the child is born, for his name to be on the birth certificate.
Well, this is my disclaimer. I have no children.
Okay.
But I was told for the name to go on, yes, he should come and sign. And if he doesn't sign, then the name will not be on the birth certificate.
Now, if the two people, and we're going to go back and forth here, if the two people are not together per se, what obligation does he have legally at that point? If he's without the birth certificate, he's technically legally not the parent, isn't he?
Because you don't write somebody's name on the paper, you're technically not the parent.
So how would you know that I am the parent? What is there to show that I am the parent? Especially if we're not, you know, living together, married, or there's no legal binding anything between us. What makes me the parent?
Paternity test, the fact that we lay together and made the baby, and I know that I lay with you.
Well, you know that and I know that. The courts don't know that. So no child. How does that affect child support?
So how it affects child support is that the mother is now, the burden is on the mother to prove that the guy is the father for the child. And one of that proof is paternity test. So the mother will have to take that father or proposed father to court, right? The court the attorney or the parent, the mother, can ask the court to have the paternity test done at that point. Once that's done and it is proven that the man is the father, then the process starts right there. And the process right there is the mother may ask for a particular sum, and the court will say, okay, we're going to appoint a social worker
All
to
right,
your.
hold on, Vin, hold on. You're ahead of me now. Now you're
Okay.
ahead of me a little bit.
Okay.
Let's slow it up a little bit. You mentioned earlier when you just started talking, you mentioned stigma attached. So before we even get to the courthouse or whatever, you said that there's a percentage of people that don't go because of stigma that is attached to it and the potential for an unfavorable outcome. Tell me a little bit more about what that looks like.
Okay, so what that looks like is, as I said before, our court system is somewhat open and just not as structured as yours, right? And for me to take my baby father to court, there are a lot of things that I have to consider as a female. Do I want to go through this process where everybody looking at me? My business is out there. I have to stand up outside with everybody until the police shout out my name, because that is how it is done here. We don't have third world country, so we have that stress to deal with, and so.
I'm sorry, Vin. Finish first. I have something burning, but go ahead.
And so, as a parent, as a female, you tend to feel a little bit shame, some sort of shame, to go through that process. And so, what will happen? So, I've done a little statistic before I came to the show. I'm not sure if you want me to speak about the percentage yet.
Not yet. Keep
Okay.
going like you're going, but the percentages are coming up next.
Okay. So it's the shame that is involved in the process why some female may not go to the route of court. Some may try the route of mediation by having a family member reach out to the father, or a friend reach out to the father and say, hey, it's your child. You must.
Now, the thing that came to me just now, aren't we then giving the men a get out of jail free with this stigma? Because if the stigma is as such, or the circumstances surrounding seeking out what it should rightfully be yours for your child from the child's father, we now create this whole thing around it. Aren't we giving them a out that they shouldn't really be given? Because if you're a picnic, you're supposed to take care of the picnic.
Well, yes, but again, it's all about what endurance, what I am willing to endure, and so I can't bother to put myself through that drama, the child, and so I, as a female, decide to, hey, I'm just gonna do this by myself.
But it's so funny the way you're referring to this now. It's almost like you're referring to the child as if the child is already a child, as opposed to a baby. You see what I'm saying? The way you're answering that question now, you say put the child through it, this and that. It's almost like you're referring to the child as a toddler or a young child, as opposed to a baby. What would have happened between 0 and the point that you're referencing now?
No, so 0 is still to the child, because remember, Martin, that the knowledge, how the bonding process starts from baby stage, weeks old to months old to 1 year. And if the child is missing then of a parent, a mother, or a father, we're talking about fathers now, there is a disconnect. There is a disconnect, so that is what happens from 0 to toddler.
All right, so now let's talk about
The lacking of love
Okay, I'm with you
from
there.
both parents.
So in order for kind of quantify or gauge just how broad spread the situation is, let's get a couple statistics and see if we can work our way backwards to a number. What percentage of women would you say are single mothers in Jamaica?
About 50%, Martin.
Okay, So we're saying about 50% of mothers in Jamaica currently are single mothers. Okay,
Yes.
that's the first statistics. What percentage of that 50% that are single mothers would you say have actually filed for child support?
15 to 20%.
Okay, so of the 50% of women that are single mothers, about 15 to 20% of them have actually filed for child support.
Yes.
And I would imagine that the stigmas that you mentioned, or I don't think stigmas is a word, but the stigma that you mentioned before would be, I guess, some of the reasons why they don't go or don't file. What would some of the other reasons be why such a low percentage would file, seeing that they are single, or is it that they have it figured out and they don't need the help?
Well, um, that's a good question. Part of that percentage would be professional women, strong professional women
Mm-hmm.
are saying, hey, I will do this by myself. I'm not going to go through that process. I'll take care of my child.
Okay.
Another percentage is the bitter baby mother because of infidelity or divorce,
Mm-hmm.
bitter ex-wives not wanting to go through that process, to
Mm-hmm.
be forced to come to a decision of visitation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so they will not go through the route of having the court deal with the issue of maintenance, visitation, and health. They will get the divorce, they will have their own arrangement in the beginning, and then
Mm-hmm.
when it gets sour, they should go to court to formalize it. But because I am not loving my husband right now, because I have a new girlfriend, I just don't want to see him. I don't want him around the child. I don't want the money from him, and I disappear.
Because you have that option.
Yes, I can
Um,
afford to do
you
that.
can afford to do that.
Yes.
What about the women that cannot afford to do that? We know some of them don't go because of the stigma. Why wouldn't the rest of them go, seeing that they actually need the help?
Well, part of that problem is that they don't understand the process. So there's a large number of our population that is illiterate and do not understand the court process and just say, boy, they're gonna struggle it through, right?
Mhm.
So they don't want to show the public that they are not able to understand the process, and so they just refrain
Opt
from
out.
going to court. Yes.
Okay, Sharon is saying, or the iconic advice is saying, there's also instances where the court made the situation worse. Do you have any experiences with? Can you speak to that?
Um, the court. I'm always going to say this. The court always look for the best interest of the children.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what the judge who is have to monitor all of this situation back and forth between the social worker, the father and the mother, all they're seeing the two sides of the story.
Mm-hmm.
While you're in court, you might hear a part of the story, but once a social worker get in play, they're seeing the full view, right? And so it may seem like the court makes it worse, but maybe not. You
Right.
know, so I mean, I can't speak to that, whether the court make it worse, but if that person could elaborate in what sense, in what regard.
Okay. Okay. So, okay, right. Well, iconic advisor, elaborate on that for us so we can say, so we can know what's going on. Um, Now you mentioned social worker, which I didn't, I was unaware of. How does that process work? I'm guessing that's a part of the process of assessing the how
Yes. So,
and how much and the person can pay. Tell me about that process and how that works.
so once the court has validate that you are actually the father, what they will do is to assign the case to a social worker to determine affordability.
Mm-hmm.
Also, not only affordability, but if the father is saying, Judge, I am not able to see my child. All she wants is money. And because I cancel the child, I'm not giving her my money. What the court will also do is to look at the living situation of both parents. Sometimes there's issue of abuse on the mother's part, and the mother is afraid for the child to go with the dad because she knows that he's abusive, not to the child, but to her. So the court will look at the whole picture to make a determination as to how much it is that the father can pay, if the living situation is not so conducive for the child to be there for the weekend, the court might say visitation. The mother must be there while he's visiting the child. Just different stipulations. That's what the social worker is really there for.
How comprehensive are their services? Like, how wide scale is it exactly?
It's pretty comprehensive. They have come a long way. They didn't have social worker assigned to each person like that, and it is quite a bit comprehensive. We're trying to improve the court system by adding these different social systems in place to have a better result.
Okay, that's good. That's excellent. And I have a couple things. Iconic Advice says, no follow-up is being done to make sure that the judgment is being adhered to. The other has to keep going back to the court to make sure that the ruling is actually being followed, is what she's getting at.
Okay. So the follow-up, Martin, think about it. The court system is so clogged that there's no way social workers can follow up to ensure that John Brown, who appeared before them 4 months ago, is actually making the payments in court. So they will be missing the payment, but there is so much going on.
Well, Ben, hang on a second, Ben. Let's do this. Let's do one thing real quick. Let's go back to the statistic we listed earlier. We said 50% of mothers in Jamaica are single mothers. What's the population of Jamaica?
I think 3 million something.
What percentage of the population is women of childbearing age or has a child?
I'm not quite sure.
What I was trying to get to going down that path is just thinking about trying to wrap my head around how many women we're actually talking about here. How many women are we actually talking? I would fathom to say at least 1 million.
Martin, you're a Jamaican, and in every household, you can find an affected person, either a cousin, somebody in a household, or every other household that don't have a father, that the father is missing, the father, something with a father. I can guarantee you.
Okay, let's do this. Here, like I mentioned before, I got divorced from my daughter's mom. As a part of the divorce, you had to submit your pay information. Pretty much everybody here, as long as you're legal in the country, get direct deposit more often than not. And they have your social security number. They run the numbers. As a part of the divorce agreement, they tell you need to pay this amount. This was, my child is 17, she was 2 at the time. So I've been paying child support for 15 years like clockwork. All right, that's the process here. You really can't go around the process too much. In fact, I spoke to said individual in question, and because she works in the system here, and she was saying that the system here is so clockwork, it's almost punitive toward the men, because as long as your name comes up in, so say for example, the woman here goes to apply for a government program, whether it is low income housing, food stamps, anything, the state is first going to say, hey, where is this? Before they grant or do not grant, they're going to say, hey, who is this child's dad? And as long as you give them that name and they track down that social, that dad is on the hook. They will just send a letter to his employer and say, hey, starting such time, you need to start taking out such amount, because if our child out there will not take care of, and the state has assessed that based on his income, he can pay this, and it's done. Nothing else
Okay,
is
well,
needed.
the difference here, though, I want to go back to the comment. The follow-up system here, the onus is on the parent, the mother, who has received the judgment that the father is to pay X amount. If she realizes that the father is not making the payment, then she needs to go back to the court to
But we
address.
already have the stigma. We already have
Huh?
the stigma. We already have the stigma. She never want to go in the first place. Why she ever want to go back?
Well, I'm just telling you what would be required. The
Mm-hmm.
court don't have the infrastructure, them don't have the resources to follow up on judgment, because that social security system that you speak about, we don't have that here, not all. You have a driver's license, you have a TRN number, and you have a passport, and you have a voter's ID, and everything operate independent of each other.
Yeah, that's
Everything. I go to court and I take out a bed. I got somebody haul me before the court, and I'll get a judgment to pay. None of that is reflecting when you pull a credit report or when you run a TRN. You don't know what I'm out there doing. I'm out there running up debts, and
left
you
and
don't
right.
have a clue.
There's no
Your
integration.
is very streamlined. You know, everything is there. Everything about Martin is up on that screen.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike we here, we don't have that. And so I don't know if you're following Jamaica's news, but we are pushing to have NIDS in place. And NIDS is going to kind of operate like the social security
Mm-hmm.
number, where they're trying to get everything on one platform.
Will they start over from scratch, or will they try to integrate the things that
I
are
think
already
they're going
current?
to integrate the
Okay,
things.
that has potential. That has
Mhm.
potential, and we have to think about this too, you know, Ben. If we're saying that that amount of women, that amount of women are actually out there with kids, with no child support structure in place, and are pretty much left to fend for themselves or depend on the reputation of the baby father to determine whether or not he provides what he should by right provide for the child, that's kind of unacceptable and some epic proportion.
It is. And mothers have it really, really hard, Martin. It's really, really crazy how they have to do everything, almost everything. And the father is out there having several babies, not committing, and the cycle just continues, you know.
We're going to touch on that here in a minute. Let's get caught up on some of these comments. Iconic Advisor is saying it's discouraging, and the mothers feel like they don't have a chance of being heard or treated fairly. Wazim followed that up. He's saying there's a new thing in some states that says a woman can decide. Let me see here. A woman can decide if she wants the biological dad um, to be the father of her child. Really, that's interesting. Wazim, you're gonna have to tell me how that work. Shirley is saying not Jamaica. She's saying also, in her opinion, is treated as petticoat. Hence, some of the women have no time to waste because they feel like I'm going it. It's almost iconic advice, like some Judge Judy, like some Judge
Yeah,
Judy basis.
like sometimes you hear how much it is that the male is to pay for two children, $6,000 a fortnight for two kids. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like how is it
You can't
that
work.
this mother is going to even make it? So for your platform, since you're in the States, that is like 40 US dollars every
Every fortnight.
fortnight for two children. You know, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
And
this is
so
laughable.
how the problem with our social security workers, because we don't have that structured system in place to say how much it is that they're really earning, they will give the social worker pay slip and add a bunch of expenses to it, and then they
Right.
will say, yes, they will say, boy, you're on a based on our review of the pay stub and the this and the that, the father can only pay X. When
Now,
the truth
but
is,
majority of Jamaica, as far as I know, when I worked in Jamaica, I actually got cash in hand every Friday. Now, how does the court even assess that? Like, I can tell you whatever number I want to tell you. And a lot of people that I know in Jamaica, they work in construction, and a lot of construction workers, they get paid cash in hand.
so
How?
what the court does in that situation with those workers, they ask for them to go and get a letter from the person who employed them. And you know all that, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Bossy, write a letter for me number of court. Put this in there. You get
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not effective. We have to find a proper way to do it. And because of that, like the kids are just suffering.
No, but here's the thing though. If this is where we're at today, where these are the systems we have in place, we're a third world country. So this is, labor intensive job is our primary means of income for majority of our men. Um, like, what real options do we have? Like, whose responsibility would it be to streamline this? Because I work construction. Half of the construction work that I work is word of mouth. I do a work with this man over here, I saw this house. I fix up this, I do that. And yeah, by next week, me have two more people. I'm an electrician, I'm a plumber, I'm a mason, right? A virgin called me. My mom needed a mason. My mom needed a mason recently. I call one of my brothers from another mother, and I say, yo, mommy need a mason. Him say, how much? One mason or two? Me tell him. He say, all right, when she want him, I tell him the mason show up. Now this mason, my mother have X amount of work for this mason. Okay, he's now contracted by her for X amount of time to do this work. Clearly, she have pay him cash in hand. How do you declare that income? I can tell if I'm in a court proceeding, I can tell this judge anything I want to tell him. I can
So,
tell him I'm not
so
employed at all.
that is part of why. So in Jamaica, we have a lot of hustling mentality. And it started from the politicians with the crash programs and we're just like, I love to have cash kind of society. We don't bank our monies, we don't really fool around checks. And so there is no sort of,
Traceability.
yes, no traceability. And people get away with a lot of things. So they lie about what they earn, and sometimes them say them don't even have no little work, come on get work here and there sometime. And so the judge make them pay a minimum because there is no track record, no nothing where they can actually go and check.
But
You
here's the
know?
thing: then, are we saying that the judge don't know that what's happening? Are the judges not knowing
They
that they're
know,
being
but
worked?
they can't do anything about it, Martin. That is, they actually give the judge what they say, basket to carry water, because the system set up in such a way that you cannot prove anything. You have in terms of your mother, for example,
Mhm.
the truth is she should file taxes saying that she carried out these works and these are her expenses and this is the person that she pays, so the government can catch that person in the tax net. But nobody does that. Nobody, you know what I mean? So
And I want to tell you, say, first may I hear about that?
no,
Like what you said just now, that should be done. And
yes,
if I first may I hear, my
yes.
mother probably don't know neither.
A lot of people have jobs, the regular 9 to 5, and then they have something that they do in the evening. But
Right,
that don't go in the tax net. So
right.
even if I have that extra income, the court don't know about it. They
Wow.
don't.
Anthony Brown is saying it seems like it comes down to personal accountability and education.
It
But
does.
with the fact that the numbers are what they are, it would seem almost like personal accountability is already out the door.
From Jump Street.
Yep. The law says, was he saying the law says when a baby is born to a parent who is not married to each other, law does not require the biological father to be the legal pay. Texas are going with things that I think he's referring to a Texas comment that was made earlier. Shauna Gay is saying the NIDS initiative seems to have some potential.
It
And
will have, it will have, and that is why they're fighting it, Martin, because the accountability will be there. So, that's just what it is. It's a sad state of affairs.
well, but here's the thing though. If that's still, I don't see how that would explain, make it. I don't understand. I don't see how it would connect from where we are to what you're saying this needs would do. Okay, in the sense that, let's do the same example of my mother. She currently right now have a plumber, a mason, a plumber.
No, NIDS is not going to help with that.
But that's how a lot of people earn their income.
So NIDS is going to help with bringing everything on one platform. So they are trying to get even judgments. So when you go to court and you get a judgment, that it will be there. When whenever you go to the bank and you borrow money, it is one place. They're trying to make it almost like a social security number, like what you have.
And all your, so it sounds like a credit history, more so even.
Yes, and
everything you have,
criminal records, everything will be there.
Okay. Well, no, then definitely if it has potential, at least you can see what's what. But then if you look at what some of these people are earning versus the amount of kids them have, it really can't make sense at all, can it? Like if you look at it, and I'm working as a construction and I'm making $2,500 a day, I'm making $3,000 a day. I'm a department like number 5 baby mother. Even if me give them the entire amount of money we earn, it's still not gonna make no sense, is true?
Yep. And the cycle continues.
What then is the problem?
We, the females, are the problem.
Elaborate.
We are the problem as well. We have to take a stand as to how we ensure that we protect our body and who we lay with. Somebody show you how them is one time, you don't need to have 3 kids with them. You just need, if you make a mistake one time, you don't need to have 3 kids with the same person. So we have to deal with how we decide to find love.
Now, okay, so you're saying, even though, like we said initially, the men kind of corner the market on the absentee parent. Look at Barbara Matthews saying amen to that. Amen to that, Barbara Matthews. Blessings, my mother. So it's like, even though the men have cornered the market on the absentee parent, you're saying the women also have some kind of responsibility in the process.
Yes.
I need to make sure that they are going about this thing responsibly, because you're correct. You are correct. They have some responsibility, and it's, I don't know, it's this whole low-hanging fruit situation that's just getting all the way out of hand. All right, now check this. Let me check here. There's a couple more things I want us to look at before we transition. One of them being, okay, so you mentioned the woman scorned. The woman scorned, referring to the woman that was in a relationship, married or not married. That, you know what? Let me see what Shauna K has to say first before I jump into that one. Shauna K is saying, on the subject of income to number of kids ratio, unfortunately, that is a reflection of the poverty mindset. It happens in the US just the same. The difference is the fact that in America, there are welfare systems that some seem to have mastered. And this is true. We have a welfare system here that a lot of people have mastered the art of how to live on it and not work. And the difference with Jamaica, so it's not that the men here are any more responsible or anything. It's just that here, when you actually go to court, and even in spite of having the social security system and everything integrated, and you still can't pay, there are things you can fall back on.
Mm-hmm.
Low income housing, food stamp, Section 8, and all these things you have that you can fall back on, that the government has in place to help persons in your state. But we are here again talking about a first world country versus a third world country,
Mm-hmm.
right? Thanks for that, Sean. Okay, now the thing I wanted to look at is what you mentioned earlier. You mentioned that some of the women, they are capable of taking care of the children themselves. They actually do not, from a financial standpoint, need the men to help them take care of the kids per se. So what you end up with now is a significant amount of women that are single-handedly raising men, let's say their children or boys, are raising men or raising a boy into a man. Is there any concern there?
Yes, I'm always talking about that because females tend to overcompensate for missing fathers.
Mhm.
Overcompensate in the sense of they give their children, they'll do anything, they'll move mountains for the kids, right? And while you get away with it for the girls, for the boys, I find that it is really, really showing a sense of loss for the boys, in terms of they're not strong, mentally strong. They're more reliant on their mothers, and so you can even see that now in our society where men today don't mind women taking care of them,
Must be
um,
nice.
because of what they're used to. And
Mhm.
I don't see anything wrong with that. Prior, a man want to feel like a man. He want to take care of him household. He want to be the head of the household and just not just there.
Mhm.
And so what mothers need to start doing is to balance between, they need to manage the strong black woman, strong professional woman with how I raise my child. How do I raise my boy child? How I raise my girl child? You know, the strength don't need to go over on the kids. You keep the strength over your section and don't put it over on the kids. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that is a real issue. It Teachers are talking about how the boys are seen in the classroom, how they behave in the classroom. They're way more emotional, and not that you can't show emotions, of course, but you have to find a way to balance giving, especially to the boys when there's no father around.
Won't it give them? Won't it? So what I hear you saying, I'm sounding like a therapist now. What I hear you saying is that it is creating a situation where the boys have a false sense of the role that women should play in their lives and in the world, because of the fact that their mom chose to play the role that they, well, and sometimes it's not chose, sometimes they were placed in the situation and decided to make the best of it. But while they're out there living their best life as a strong black woman, sometimes the way the child is interpreting it, or the way it is presenting as a child, as if this is how a woman is supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
But when that boy comes up and finds a girlfriend or a wife, he thinks that she needs to go out there and do everything for him the way mommy did everything for him.
Correct. Yes, that's
So
the
it's
problem
giving,
that I'm having with the strong professional, or even if she's not professional, but I will do this by myself. I don't need the man. Make him go on about his business. You need the man. You might not need the man. The child need their fathers. You know, and even though we are upset for whatever situation that might play out in the relationship, we need to find a way to stop putting that onto the children and let the children have relationships with their fathers. So these are the female now that is in the 50% that choose to just say, go to hell, I don't need you, I will take care of my kids, and the father is out there screaming, I need to see my child, and you are saying, go to hell because you're bitter. So those are the females that I'm talking about.
And it's like in an attempt to, and I want us to make sure we're getting this point here, viewers and everybody, in an attempt to, because the intent is what is important here, or is equally important. The intent of the mother is to be independent of help, and her intent is to show that she is self-sufficient, and her intent is to work hard and make sure that she provides. These are all her intent, and they're good intentions. However, the way it translates sometimes to the child, to the male child, is that it gives him a false sense of the role of a woman in a relationship.
Correct.
And it makes his social orientation toward women, his orientation toward the role of a woman in a family is as such that she is responsible to take care of everything, because this is what mommy taught him. This is what she saw. This is what she overheard him say. Even the conversations that she's having with the dad on the phone that she don't think the kid is hearing, or she don't care if the kid's here, when she's telling daddy, go ahead, me no need you, whatever, I'll take care of him. And then she goes out and overdoes it with the child, not realizing that in doing that, this is the orientation. You know what you know. The child is a child. There are as some psychologists or sociologists put it, they're a blank slate.
That's correct.
You are writing things on this slate. You are creating this individual, and how you created the things that you write on that slate is ultimately going to determine the end result that you get. And if you're going about it a particular way, you're going to skew the result you get because of what you put on the table to begin with.
That's correct. That's correct.
Well, okay, Ved. How widespread do you think this is?
Of the 50%?
Of the 50%.
Okay, so remember 15 to 20 take their baby father's support.
Right.
Or husband, ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
I would say of the remaining 30% or 35%, 20%.
You'd say 20%. And if
Yes.
we're working with theory that 1 million, and it's likely more than that, but if we're working with the low ball estimate that 1 million, 20%, we're talking about 200,000 people? Is my math correct?
Mm-hmm.
So there's potentially 200,000 mothers out there that because of their
anger,
because of their anger, because of their desire to be the strong black woman, because of their independent thought that needs, they're going to teach the man a lesson that she can raise a child without the child. They're essentially creating a child that is, for lack of a better term, dysfunctional in society as far as the actual role that they're supposed to be playing in society is.
Yes. And I know that if you ask almost all of them, they'll be like, no, I'm not doing that. I love my child. But as you said, their intention is good, but that is the result that we're seeing, the cycle of not taking care of females, not being there when they're pregnant, not being there when the baby is born. That is the cycle that we're creating.
Because this young man, essentially, he's gonna be, or he has the potential to be, a dysfunctional member of society, because his idea of what gender roles should look like is skewed.
Yeah.
His idea of what a significant other should he find and I here's what I think is happening. Because of the dedication of some of these mothers, I think a lot of these boys are coming out book smart. They're book smart, so they have good jobs, they're in good positions in society, but as far as their social
They're shitty
development,
partners.
as far as that, exactly, as far as they're good professional workers because they learn the work ethic, they learn the stick to itiveness, they learn the drive, but they're missing.
But they can't love you. They can't love you for long.
Oh my
That heart, that love relationship with a female and wanting to be there, and it's not there. Sometimes they create narcissists
wow, man.
in that environment too, and they come out and they treat female like they're nothing. And you're wondering how could this professional engineer is like this? Why is he hitting me? Why is he? Yeah.
Because he has the drive to do a job, he has the drive necessary to do the work to be successful, but the social maturity that is needed to be a functional partner to an individual, that aspect of his personality was not developed because
No.
it's one-sided.
Yes. And then they have abandonment issues because the father left or the father wasn't there, and all they're seeing is mother, you know?
Abandonment issues, mommy issues, tomato.
So yeah, hurt people, hurt people.
Hurt people, hurt people. um Iconic advisors, really, I need to start on that.
No, she needs the statistics on that.
Or she needs the stats on that, or stats. Yes, correct. She needs that, and an iconic advisor. I'm with you, but here's the thing: what if a lot of women out there that are strong black women, and there's nothing wrong with being a strong black woman. I support strong black women, but what if because of the thing that put us in this box or made us have to figure out how to be this way has pros and cons, and one of the pros is that it makes us a strong black woman, but one of the drawback from it is that this is one of the byproduct that it has for our kids. I'm trying to tell you, say your mother cannot father you. Boys and girls need their fathers. I mean, it's a Jamaican PhD candidate who told me that he is a prize or a catch. Of course, of course, he thinks he's a prize or a catch because mommy told him he's a prize or a catch because she made sure that he went to school, made sure that he got good grades, made sure that he came out and he's a professional and he's going to be a professional and he's going to be successful financially.
Mm-hmm.
However, the social roundedness that he needed, she was only capable of providing him with one part of it. So he's missing the other part. Wow. Wow. Just wow. Iconic advisor says the boys that are brought up by mothers, you are saying, are being say that again, the boys that are brought up by mothers, you're saying are being abusive to women? Not necessarily. Not necessarily.
Some are because they have other issues. They have abandonment issues and they don't know how to handle that. So sometimes abuse is not necessarily physical abuse. Abuse is mental abuse, emotional abuse, So
I'm a catch, so you
not
need to get up on this, that, and the third from because I'm a catch. How dare you think you should this, that, or the third? I'm a catch. This is me. Mommy told me I'm great, and I am great. It's sometimes it's just functional things. Iconic advisor, where it's not that they're being abusive from a physical standpoint, dig down the woman. It's just that she is living in a living hell, dealing with him because his ego can't fit in the same space with anything else.
Yeah.
Wow again. Wow one more time. Okay. Well, here we are, Vince. I actually did not see us getting here, but here we are. And I think we need to look with, and here's the thing. Here's the thing
Martin,
that's
I
happening.
think we
No, go ahead.
need we need to have we need to have more what you may call it, like social systems in place for boys, because what had happened is we were trying to bring up the girls because the men were taking over, right?
Mhm.
So we have a lot of programs to bring up the girls. And now what happened is that in university right now, 70% of who is in the classroom are females. So we need more men on board that bring up back the boys to play catch up with the girls, because they're lost. They don't have programs, enough programs in place to
Mhm.
help boys who have good mothers to have a mentor to mentor them into men.
Mhm.
So that is what is important, and that is what is missing.
Well, let me see. We have a couple things here. And I agree. I agree. I think because it does take this rounded approach. They do say it takes a village. And you know why they say it takes a village? Not only the fact that raising a rounded individual takes effort. It's just that when you have the village, each person in the village have a different perspective. And if you actually allow the village to help and to help you get that child to be around the child, and the child will have a wholesome perspective on life. If the perspective is one-sided, and that one-sidedness is as a result of something bitter, or as a result of trauma, or as a result of a reaction to something negative, then the individual that you're potentially receiving the guidance from is somebody that needs to be sitting on somebody's blue sofa themselves and work through a couple of things where they have to work through.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So you're now dealing with someone guiding you. I have a poem somewhere. I don't know what it's called, and I don't know what it's called at all. But it says it's like being showed the ropes by the. It's like being led down the path by the blind, or essentially it's saying like you are being showed how to do something, or you're being taken somewhere by somebody that's blind. And
So
I
in
love how you
Jamaica, them say blind can't lead
the
blind.
blind can lead blind. Blind cannot lead blind. You understand? But if so, you're going down a path, you don't realize that you need to take the beam out of your eye just so you can even see the beam in my eye. But here you are pointing out the beam in my eye, and your eye full of beam. Me surprised to see the beam in my eye because your eye full of beam. You understand? And yeah, I kind of got advice said the same thing. Blind can lead blind. Well, let me see what she said here. She said, can it be that the person that sees it as ego is the one with the problem? Said, well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, Shirley. I think that we don't pay enough attention, and I don't think any country does. America does, Jamaica doesn't. America doesn't, Jamaica doesn't. We don't pay enough attention to a lot of the services that people actually need. And it's like Venice said. Once upon a time, we realized that the men were getting away from the women, and the women got together and decided that, yo, we're going to do this, 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 and this to put ourselves back on the map. And they have. And it's almost like the men decide that, yep, we good with that. That look good to us. Make it go on like how it are going. As opposed to we making the same initiative with the men, because it takes two. It takes both sets. You know what I mean? And we're in a position right now where the fact, put it this way, the fact that the percentage of single mothers, I mean not talk some one night trifling business. May I talk good, solid, how should I say this? Good, solid women that really should have a significant other that is by their side, that they can grow together, that they can reach children and functional members of society together. The fact that there's so many of them out there that are single mothers speaks to the problem just in enough. The statistics alone tells you just how far and wide the issue is, because it shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be that way. A professional woman, a woman that is out there, doing these, she shouldn't having to find someone to be with shouldn't be the problem that she has. It doesn't make sense.
And what made it worse, Martin, recently an article came out to say that Jamaica has the highest number of jacket where women
I saw that.
gave the wrong father, so, and that came out through the filing where parents are filing for their children to enter the USA,
And
and
whoever them a file, whoever the dad
when
that
they do the
listed,
paternity test, is not the father.
you are not the father. Oh my word. So
So
then,
that
okay,
is
well, let's do this. Because we have to. We're running long here. Um, we covered a lot. So I think Chaudhary said we need to and I kind of advise is saying the same thing here, that we need to do a whole nother show on this thing here. I think it was said before as well. So I'm gonna pull the plug. I'm gonna pull the plug on this show. I will go have a schedule another show. But what closing remarks would you say on this topic? And we covered a lot. We covered a lot. And we really, really, really barely scratched the surface of what we could have covered directly related to what we did cover, right? What would be a takeaway that you would want to leave?
okay. So the truth is, we can't rely on our court system to fix this issue. So, one, as females, we have to find a way to protect ourselves by taking birth control pills. We need to assess our partners before we choose to have kids with them. And we also have to learn to be with one man. Um,
Ay, ay, ay.
we can't just going around and all over the place. We need to just settle, because then that will take care of the issue of you're giving me a child that is not mine. It also take care of the issue that I'm taking birth control, so I'm protecting my space, myself, as to when I'm ready. So I think while we can't have the system correct it, that is a start. The
Mhm.
next thing is that we have to make these men be accountable. So we have to go to the court. If they need to pay, they need to pay. And we have to just swallow our prides and do it. Bring them to court and let them pay what they're supposed to pay.
I can put.
Finally, if we are together and God forbid it don't work out, it's me and you don't work out, not me, you, and the kids don't work out. So I'm begging the females to allow the fathers to see their children and to have a relationship with their children. Irrespective if they move on to another female, allow the children to have that bond with their fathers and let it go. Breathe.
Breathe.
Breathe and let it go.
Breathe and let it go. Amen to that. Amen to that. So Vin, we're gonna have to fast track the rest of the show right now. Let me pull my studio closer here. We're gonna have to fast track the rest of the show here.
We're doing the rest of the show.
No, Ven is the Evening People show. We have to read poetry. If we don't read poetry, I know the Evening People show is there, but and we're on the Evening People show. So, but what we're gonna do is we're going to read a poem, but we're not going to dissect it as much as we used to.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We're going to just talk about it for a few minutes, and then we're going to jump off because we're at the limit that I'd like us to be. But because I felt like this topic, when it came to me, I felt like this topic was such a significant topic, was such an important topic. I didn't want us to rush that part of it. You know what I mean? Even if we ran to the point where we didn't read anything at all, I wanted us to get this out of the way and see the folks that have been watching saying, we need a next show. because there's still so much more to do, because when it's a wide scale problem, it's a wide scale issue. And the fact that we've identified here, even on the show, that even when the women decide that, yes, I'm going to be a superhero mommy and get it done, there's still side effects that come from that as well for the kids. And ultimately, I want to tell you, my daughter said to me something about another child. I said, well, no, I have to see how the first one turn out. I have to see how the first one turn out first. What if I'm messing it up? We don't want to have 3, 4 of them on the line to be messed up all at once. No, I need to see how you turn out first. And then if you turn out right, then I might start. Yes, you might have you might be 22-year-old with a baby brother, but at least I know that you worked out. So if I did it with you, I can do it with him. Anyways, that's for that.
Okay.
Venice Williams is our guest tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I thank you for staying tuned to the show so far. And if you joined at any point and didn't get it all, go back and get it all, because it's some legit solid stuff it's some real things that affect real people in real life. Go and check it out. Now, what are you going to read for us? And like I said, we're just going to read, we're going to broad stroke it, and then we're going to bounce. What are you going to read for us?
I'm going to read Him. H-I-M.
Him. If you have your book, ladies and gentlemen, Love, Life, Confrontation, Expressions, Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man, mostly this black man, it's number 34. Go for it.
So I'm going to read 2 stanzas, you read 2. We can do it like that?
Yes, I'm game. I like it. Let's do it.
He loves me hard and fast. But
Another the poem said. You said he loves me hard and fast. I think of that. I did not write a poem ago, so start again.
He loves. Not me.
Where is? The poem did not say that, ma'am.
Okay.
He loves
hard
me
and fast.
Jesus.
The word me. I don't know why I'm interjecting myself.
Jesus.
He loves hard and fast, but it doesn't last. He lives in the present, haunted by the past. His charisma and charm depicts him as knowing no harm. His river is silent and runs deep, capable of things he dares not speak. You're the little lad?
I'm going to try really like you. He trusts very little, but doubts a lot. Calculated yet simple, always picks the right spot. He is passionate in all his ways. You could listen to him for days. He has secrets no one knows. He shows you glimpses as time unfolds. He's been injured, scarred. He always has up his guard.
His true self never revealed, not up to discussion. That case is sealed. He doubts everyone can comprehend, so he draws the line at friends. Incapable of getting close, though he is more passionate than most. Incapable of being alone, always conflicted within his soul.
He's a man set in his ways, speaks with wisdom of ancient days. He's a friend of a special kind, always stimulating the mind. He is I am him. We were one in the beginning, but too much has already been revealed. This entry must be sealed. Good choice, man. I like it. You see, the people ever laugh. You see, you have everybody a laugh. No, a LOL, me I see. Watch out, woo. People are laugh at all these things. LOL, story time. Iconic advisor. Seem like she ready for the passer. She said it sound like a jacket father. So man, like I said, we're not going to deep dive into this one. But what do you get from this poem? Him is a poem. Is this guy one of those guys we were talking about?
I think this guy is one of the guys. This is so funny, right? That this is so fitting with these deadbeat baby fathers, right? Because this guy is hurt. And remember, I said hurt people hurt people.
True.
So this guy's like a vampire. This guy is a philophobia.
Elaborate.
He's a philophobia, capable of not loving anyone. Difficult, sometimes find it impossible to love or to maintain love with someone.
What about his charisma and charm, though? There's a line here that says his charisma.
Yeah, man, because him sound like a little narc as well. You know, the narc, them love bomb you, and them have the charisma lock pot, and you just lie down and them hurt you. And them just come and rub your head and you just say, oh, I forgive you. And you gone again.
And next thing you get boxed on our foot in the throat and all these things.
And then they have so much issues, underlying issues, that you're not able to see until it happens, you know?
But so, they present well. On the surface, they present well.
Yeah, man. Jacket and tie.
Jacket and tie. Speak proper speaking. They have the English down pat in it, mate. But they have issues.
Yeah, they have issues.
Wow.
Lots of it.
But then suppose I'm going to extrapolate here that some of the situations that we spoke about these strong black women, what if they're creating some of these narcissists?
But they are. They are.
Good God. Good God.
They are.
Then
so I'm trying to break the cycle tonight. You have to chip away a little by a little by a little. So
then you know what? I'm not gonna go any further. If y'all watch the show till this far, I appreciate y'all. And then like Shernet Higgins, like Nikki Francis, they're my co-hosts at any time. So I'm gonna have to have them back to and then have who's my other co-host? My boy Alfred. Alfred is also one of my co-hosts. I can call and say, yo, my youth, come in, we could do this. So yeah, we're gonna have you back because I feel like there's more to be had from the first part of the show, and there's more to be had from the second part of the show. So probably the next time when you come back, we're gonna have a pick up where we left off, as opposed to start from scratch. We just pick up where we left off, add some more information that we've gleaned since the time, and move forward.
Okay.
Venice, it was lovely having you. It was lovely having you. I thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you're a busy woman. I know you have a lot going on, but Evelyn People Show, thanks you so much for taking the time out to be with us today. All right? Take care, my dear.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. That's the ball game. I bet y'all didn't know what y'all were in for when you saw me call a show Baby Daddy Drama. No, it's not no drama. We're trying to lay it out for y'all. We're trying to lay out for you real things that happen to real people in the real world. And if you didn't know, now you know. We dropped a poem named Him, and somehow with the content that we spoke about before, him looked like it just slid right in there, right? There's so much more we could cover. There's so much more to say. But if you missed everything, you need to look at the takeaways that we have and see that some of these things, people, you have to be deliberate. That is really what it boils down to. You have to be deliberate with some of these things. You have to be deliberate with all of these things, because ultimately, when you are a parent, creating a functional member of society is your number one priority. Creating a functional member of society when you are a parent is your number one priority. And I must say something here now, but because me and the man upstairs I try to work out some things, me not gonna say it too loud. But when you are blessed with a child, you have a responsibility to grow that child up to be a functional member of society. Functional in every capacity, functional in every way. And if you have your own issues that you need to work out, and those issues are preventing you from raising up that child in the way that that child needs to grow, you need to fix that. And you need to make sure that the task that you have been given to raise this child is taken seriously. And at the end of the day, just like how you look for a report card with all A's, at the end of the day, you need to look for a report card with a functional member of society, not somebody that have all kind of isms and schisms and issues that they need to go sit down and talk and work out, but somebody that actually is a functional member of society and can come into society and enter society and actually contribute positively to the people around them. If this is not what you thought as a parent your responsibility is, then you don't actually have your head wrapped around what your responsibility is. If you have a child, your responsibility, numero uno, function number one, is for you to raise a functional member of society. And we are talking rounded, functional, socially, emotionally, spiritually, physically, erically. And if that is not the way you have been approaching your child rearing approach, then you need to revise your child rearing approach. Because in truth and in fact, this is ultimately what your job ultimately is. All right. You have been watching the Evelyn People Show. I am your host, Martin Matthews. I do appreciate you. The poem we read came from my book called Love, Life, Confrontation, Expressions, Selections from the Chronicles of a Black Man, available in Fontana Pharmacies, available on Amazon.com. And I'm out. Peace.